I scream, you scream, we all scream for Miller in a can. This is the guitar that Kevin Shields recorded Isn't Anything with. It appears in the video for You Made Me Realize. It's a Japanese knockoff of an Ibanez knockoff of a Jazzmaster Jaguar-y thing. It's got a gigantic trem arm and a huge back plate. It's pretty horrible. It's impossible to tune this thing, and it has single coil mic style pickups underneath these chrome soap bar plates that just squeal constantly. I have some doubt whether or not this was involved in any studio recordings for Isn't Anything. My guess is that he just got this at a secondhand store and beat the shit out of it filming the You Made Me Realize video. A really rich, murky guard here on the plate with these huge, I mean, you probably can't see it, but there's really brilliant tiger flecks in here. And it's also a very pale sunburst. Goes to basically chartreuse in the middle and kind of a burnt orange at the edge without ever really getting kind of, sunbursty, which is pretty generic. The neck is probably the worst neck I have ever played on a guitar. It is just an abomination. The truss is off, everything is just completely fucked on this guitar. One of the issues I thought would be a good talking point is crowdsourcing. Now, Chris Weingarten, who is an editor at Spin, Chris sort of famously went to a couple of conferences in New York and railed against the evils of crowdsourcing. He approached this from the perspective of, this is fucking with my job. This is making it impossible for me to make a living. If you just chase traffic and you chase noise online and chase the crowd response to a given topic and adjust the editorial content of your publication based around noise that's already occurring elsewhere, you have no editorial voice. You're part of a mob. That sucks. The whole history of music criticism has been about voices. Maybe it's harder to do that, but with things like Tumblr and Facebook and this whole, like culture and Reddit, where plus oneing things drives them to the top, yes, that shows you what's popular, but that's sort of covered ground, right? I mean, if everyone online is talking about the same thing, surely you should find something else to talk about if you want to distinguish yourself or your publication. One attempt to shake this up, which was a spectacular failure, was National Public Radio giving interns who, just by virtue of their youth, had not come across canonical albums in rock's past, asking them to review them without any of the context or baggage that someone who had been around when, let's say, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back was released, who was not even born when Do the Right Thing came out. When you give a 22, 23-year-old kid who's intellectually curious, particularly about pop music, a record like It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, and you tell them that their brief is just to say whatever they think. Don't Google it, don't research it, just what does it sound like? That's irresponsible. Straight up. You're sacrificing that kid on the altar of controversy. You're trying to manufacture a controversial dialogue by using his naivety to fuck him. That's not right. And whether or not you realized before, after, or during the complete uproar around this problem, hopefully you did realize it and you won't fucking do it again. I'm concerned, as I alluded to in the last video, that what's happening through crowdsourcing is that the data points are getting distorted. Is that young kids only think they need to hear Loveless, It Takes a Nation of Millions, introducing, the Soft Bulletin and Unknown Pleasures. You're a band. There's a peak distortion that's occurring where the canon is getting way too much attention and the median is invisible. What happens with a lot of these indie records is, if the label didn't get bought by Universal or EMI or Sony, the rights vanish. Nobody knows who owns the rights to what. Just like it was in the 60s, coming out of all of the, garage bands that just did one or two records, and, the alarm clocks, and it's just, go buy Nuggets. There's actually a good 20-year stretch almost of indie music that was never digital, that was put out on 7 inches and, tapes and whatever, and is at risk of being lost. Because, it's not as good as Loveless. It's not as good as, Homogenic. I don't know, whatever. All these superlative records. It's a vanishing point scenario. You start out with, I'm going to write 10,000 words about the MERS box. And what you end up with, once you have a staff and web hosting and, Pitchfork TV and, your BuzzFeed and Pepsi wants to advertise with you, what you end up with is Lana Del Rey. That is where it all reduces to. The artist that is the most guaranteed to happen, to become a phenomenon. Positive or negative, they are going to get hits. I don't know that kids out there can sufficiently understand the depth of industrial effort, and I mean like making a car, that has occurred in the last 2 years to manufacture Lana Del Rey as a fucking blank slate for the media to just spray ink all over. That's the reason the KLF lit A Million Pounds on fire. Because you are psyched that Lana Del Rey managed to become classically famous as a musician. Because you didn't think that could happen anymore. Who fucking cares about celebrity? Lana Del Rey. She wants to make a shitload of money. I don't care about it. And I don't know anybody who puts on her records and is like, transported. That shit's the fucking soundtrack to a shopping spree, man. I mean, for Christ's sake, she went and had dinner with Axl Rose. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you trying to pretend this person is a musician? You're talking about shit that used to go on in the fucking 1920s in terms of the level of absolute premeditation around every fucking second of this girl's life as a celebrity. Are you so eager to be made a component in her success? What are you getting out of that? Apart from ad sales. I can't do that. I can't do it. Because I gotta come home at night. And I don't want to come home and feel like I helped somebody who has no interest in music con a bunch of people who do.